Welcome to the Pulpit and Pew podcast. My name is Matt Higginbotham. I am the pastor at First Baptist Church Rockdale, which makes me the pulpit part of the equation. With me is Zack Rowland.
Hello.
Zack is the pew part of the equation. And so we're here today. We're going to talk a little bit about where I was a couple weeks ago, the Southern Baptist Convention, what that looks like. So this may be very disinteresting for a whole lot of you out there.
It may be.
Hopefully you learn a little bit about how Southern
I'm hoping
Baptist
to make
churches.
it interesting.
We're gonna try to make it real
We're gonna
compelling.
try to make it as compelling as possible.
Stay tuned for like explosions and special effects. It's gonna be a sights and sounds extravaganza for sure.
Yeah, and we've been off for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We
I do have
haven't
like I have like an air horn I could play randomly to like make it real exciting.
Press it.
So,
What's it sound like?
yeah. So there you go.
We need to fill that soundboard out with some more stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. So Zack, it's been just over 2 weeks now
Yep.
since last time we got together and did one of these.
Yep.
So what has been going on generally in your world for the last 2 weeks?
Generally in my world, just trying to support my wife through the pregnancy we're currently in that time. Changed jobs. This week was my first week at a new job. Still making weapons of war. So it's kind of been my business for better or worse. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you see conflict over in the Middle East, and you're like seeing that as like stock options.
Not so much. It's not so much Middle East. It's more like looking forward to the inevitable war with China.
That's
That's
the one.
kind of what everybody's gearing up for.
That's
Middle East is on coast, right?
That's where
Like
the
we've
numbers
already
really
got,
start going up.
yeah, we've already got our bases covered in the Middle East. Yeah, it's an interesting world. Hear a lot of interesting statistics and things like that. It's all Navy stuff, right? So it's all boats. Hear about how many more boats China is building than us, or has than us, and all that fun stuff.
Are they all canoes though?
No, I mean they're basically like China's commercial. Every commercial boat that China builds is potentially a military boat because China can just say, "Hey, all your bases belong to us. Like all your boats, everything that is commercial is now state owned.
Yeah, we're strapping a couple cannons on this.
Have a good day." Yeah. So fun stuff. What have you been up to?
I've been
Apart from the obvious, Miss Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well, I went to the convention in the midst of this. So since we last met, I've been to Dallas for the Southern Baptist Convention. I drove our youth to and from Highland Lakes Camp. They had summer camp, and I was the bus driver to get them to and from that. So that went over a weekend there. So we got home from the convention on Wednesday night. Thursday at noon or whatever, we left for Highland Lakes, drove there, hung out for the rest of the day, basically came home Thursday night, then had to get back up there Monday morning to bring them home. And then on Tuesday, Monday was Ezekiel's birthday, my 7-year-old now. And then on Tuesday, I had to drive back to Highland Lakes, which is a 2-hour drive. And I spent the next 2 days driving a school bus around the camp. They have, like, the lake is down a good bit from the top of the camp.
Oh, they don't just make them walk down there anymore?
You could walk, but yeah,
we always had to walk.
Yeah, they were meaner back then. They got an old retired school bus from the Llano School
I don't remember
District.
not enjoying it though. Like you're a kid, you walk half a mile.
Additionally, the lake is at 49%, even after all this rain.
Oh, wow.
And so when you get to where the bottom of the lake road is, it's still another, I don't know, quarter mile or so down.
Wow. Are they still able to do like the blob and the banana boat and all that fun stuff?
So since you've been to camp, I'm on the board.
It's been a minute.
So since you've been out there, the camp has added this massive hexapod. It was like kind of like a ropes coursey type thing that was at whatever the water park in Pflugerville is.
Mm-hmm.
You remember there is like a water park in Pflugerville?
Yeah, like some splash town or hurricane or something.
Yeah.
Or some
Typhoon, Texas.
Yeah, I just remembered it being like off-brand Schlitterbahn. Like,
Yeah, so they donated this massive. It's got like a zip line. You zip line across, and then you can zip line back to the
oh,
original
that's
platform.
awesome.
And then like there's a kind of a low ropes obstacle course thing in there. And so they donated the stuff to us. The camp just had to get an
Get it.
engineer to
Yeah.
certify it and then install it.
Yeah.
And building is not fun out there because it's all rock
No.
after about
Yeah.
this much.
Yep.
So they've got it up. It's been up for now maybe 3 years. But about 2 years ago, they put this massive lake in, this pond in between the zip line where the two towers are. And so all of the blob and stuff, all that water stuff was moved up onto the top of the camp.
Oh, so you don't have to depend on the lake.
So it's basically like, yeah,
anymore.
if you were at the cafeteria, which hasn't moved since you were there,
Yeah.
it's like right there, right by the
Oh.
pool cafeteria
Wow.
area is where that is. So it's all very convenient. The only thing down at the lake is like banana boats
Mm.
because we're not running banana boats in a tiny
Right.
little
Right.
pond that we built. And so we drive the kids down. They hop off. Then they have to walk down a pretty good hill. It's supposed to be covered by the lake.
Mm.
Like all of that's supposed to be the lake.
Yeah.
But the lake is not there right now.
Wow.
And I think the lake, I don't know.
Because it used to be like whenever you were playing like what's the ultimate frisbee and stuff, you were pretty much basically right there on the lake. There's that little kind of semi-forested. There's some trees down there. And
Yeah, they have a lower rec field, which they pretty well don't use much at all right now for the camp. It's there. It's just a lot of open area right now. The only thing that you'll do down kind of below in the lower part is getting down to banana boats. So I just drove a school bus in circles for 6 hours a day. It was like 8 hours total time, but about 6 hours of driving a bus. And I drive and pick up kids at the bottom and take them back up to the top and pick up kids at the top and take them down to the bottom. Never driven a school bus before. Apparently, I don't need a CDL to drive the bus because
on
it's
private property.
private property. So it's just like driving around on your ranch or something.
I think I would enjoy that.
Yeah. The thing that was real surprising to me is like it's air brakes. So like I've never driven anything with air brakes as far as I know in my life. And so like it's as if they don't engage at all, and then they do like all of a sudden the air hydraulics or whatever kicks in, and it however they stop pinches or whatever they're doing.
And they're loud.
They're loud, and you feel like a real abrupt sort of stop in there. So I drove bus. It was Wednesday of this week. Came home Wednesday night late. Got to see my daughter who's working at the camp. She's doing great. She's on stage leading games.
She's still there?
She's there till July 7th.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So she's doing that. And then came home Thursday or Wednesday. Thursday was my only day in the office. This whole week basically was yesterday. And now here I am on Friday as we sit right now.
Friday morning.
Yeah.
Which is unusual for us.
Yeah, that's because you're off for Juneteenth.
I'm off for Juneteenth, yeah.
Juneteenth, it's kind of a polarizing holiday. Like people have like these opinions, like it's
and it was actually yesterday.
correct.
But they gave us today off.
So you can get a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Which I don't think anybody complained about. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to my daughter about Juneteenth, and I'm a fan. Like I love conceptually what Juneteenth is. I think of our secular holidays that are not Christian in any way, it's my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't even know. To be fair, I'm not an expert on the history of Juneteenth or anything like that.
Give it to you real briefly, right?
Yes, please do.
Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation, right? Frees the slaves. The South surrenders shortly after that,
Okay.
right? So like
Which of those happened on June 19th?
neither.
Okay.
Neither. It's a story.
Okay.
It gets
Sorry.
so he issues it. All the slaves are free throughout the Union. The South surrenders, so all the slaves throughout America now are free, emancipated. But they don't know they're free, and they're still living in slavery until somebody tells them, hey, there was an Emancipation Proclamation, you're free.
Oh.
And it was 2 or 3 years later, on June 19th of 18 whatever, that a boat pulled into Galveston and told the very last slaves in America hey, you guys are free.
You've been free for a minute.
And as a Christian, like this is our story.
Yeah,
This is
that's
our story,
true.
right? There's
I
a
see the
whole
parallel.
world
Yeah,
walking in slavery,
yeah,
and they've been free
yeah,
from the time that Jesus Christ went to the cross and conquered death and rose from the grave. They've been free. Their whole life they've been free. They've been walking in bondage,
yeah,
and they're needing someone to get off the boat where they
yeah,
are and read them the Emancipation Proclamation. You're free.
yeah.
Like what a wonderful, wonderful holiday, right? And I love it. I love conceptually the idea of that. We can celebrate the freedom of men, like that's a good thing. But the parallel to our faith story is so it's so poignant to me. Like there is a world walking, and they have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like those poor slaves in Galveston spent 2 or 3 years doing whatever their earthly master told them in bondage,
Mm-hmm.
because no one had ever told them
Yeah.
the good news that had already taken place. Like they probably knew the war was over,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't know they were free. And their master, who might have known,
Yeah.
may or may not have known that they were free, was certainly not telling them,
Probably knew.
because
Let's
the
be
one
honest,
the one who
probably
the
knew.
one who keeps us enslaved is not eager to
Yeah.
let us know that there's freedom.
It's like how TurboTax knows you can do your taxes for free, but they make that option really hard to find in the small print because it benefits them for you to not know that.
Yeah. So I do. I love it. I know like people are like, well, it's a DEI holiday. And for a large part of America, it's not that meaningful. But since it's always been in Texas,
Yeah.
like some sort of a holiday celebration, because it was here
It
in
was
Galveston
here, yeah.
that the last slaves in America
Mm-hmm.
found out, guys, you haven't been enslaved.
Yeah.
Like you've been living voluntarily enslaved. You didn't know it.
Yeah.
But no one had a claim on you because your freedom has already been secured by the good
Wow.
deed done somewhere else.
Yep. That's cool.
Yeah, like I love it. I think as Christians we need to know that story, because it is the story of your neighbors. It's the story of the people around the world walking in darkness who do not know that it is finished.
Mm-hmm.
So so I'm a big fan of Juneteenth. Like it a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's your Juneteenth story.
I was wondering why you had such a high opinion of it.
Yeah. I love it. I just think I think it's a wonderful, wonderful parallel to like literally every person who's born into darkness,
Yeah.
until someone tells them. And how can they know
Mm-hmm.
if no one tells them?
Yep.
Right. So
How can anyone know what happened in the Southern Baptist Convention unless someone tells them?
well, it is all streamed, so you
Okay.
could look online, and if you want to view, it's all open. I bet they're recorded as well, so you could go back and watch the whole thing. I did go to the Southern Baptist Convention, so that is the topic of
Yeah.
the day. What is the Southern Baptist Convention? Why would Matt go there
Mm-hmm.
for 3 days? And what happened there? So how do you want to dive into this, Zach?
I don't know what I mean. Dave, what was like the opening? Like, how did it open? What was the first order of business? What was the first domino to fall? What was
All right.
how'd they kick it off?
Yeah. So the Southern Baptist Convention. Let me give you what it is, because I feel like that's gonna be helpful for
Okay,
listeners.
let's start there.
The Southern Baptist Convention is a annual meeting of churches that participate voluntarily
Mm-hmm.
with the Southern Baptist cooperative giving purposes.
Yeah.
So our church roughly gives, I think it's 8%
Mm-hmm.
of every dollar that comes in, we give to the cooperative program.
Mm-hmm.
And that money goes to the state of Texas. There's a state convention that we're a part of, the Texas Baptist Convention, Baptist General Convention of
You said
Texas.
8 cents of every dollar.
So 8 cents, like when you give a dollar, 8 cents, 92 cents we spend here.
8% of our givings
Yeah.
go to.
Go up. And so it goes to the Texas Baptist. They keep about half of it, maybe a little bit more than half. And the rest of it they send on to the executive committee. And then they divide those 4 cents or whatever's left, 3.5 cents,
Mm-hmm.
into a couple different places. Half of that money's going to go to the International Mission Board to keep our missionaries overseas. A quarter of it's going to go to provide for the North American missions, church planners that we have across America and Canada. And then the rest of the 1.5 cents that's left of the 8 cents that was sent up eventually is going to be divided between the seminaries that we kind of cooperatively fund, the Ethics, Religious Liberty Commission, the URLC, the executive committee who's in charge of being the Southern Baptist Convention when the meeting's not in session, and that's about it. I think that maybe where all of the money goes from there. So we're a part of it. We send some money up, like I said, about 8% of all our things, and then we give twice a year. We give offerings to these, to a couple of those organizations. So around Easter, we give the Annie Armstrong Easter offering, which supports the North American Mission Board, and then at Christmas we give on the Lottie Moon. So like this last year, we gave $28,000 to convention causes, or something like that. And so it's a chance for everyone who participates to come together and to generally be this organized convention. What it's not is it's not like a college of cardinals.
Yeah.
Like it's not some magisterium who meets together and makes decisions that comes down, because anything that's decided at the Southern Baptist Convention, it can be binding on a seminary or it can be binding on someone that we fund.
Yeah.
But it can't be binding on First Baptist Church Rockdale because we are not under their authority. We give them money for cooperative mission purposes.
Yeah.
But they don't tell us what to believe, what to teach. They can't tell the church to fire me. They can't make me go to a different church. They have no power.
I mean, the juxtaposition you're drawing there is with like Catholicism, where it seems more like a republic, where you have these representatives of these areas who also have jurisdiction over those areas, and it's more purely democratic.
Yeah, and we're fully autonomous and independent. So what happens at the convention matters insofar as it kind of illustrates where our cooperative work is at, but it doesn't matter in as far as what we're as a church about, what we're doing.
It governs what happens with those 8 cents.
Yeah.
And not the 92.
Correct. And they have no say over what we do. The only thing the Southern Baptist Convention can do to discipline our church, like to chasten our church, is to stop receiving money from us. Like we can send them money and they can say, we really don't think that we're in alignment on big issues.
Here's your money back.
Take this back. And then since they've sent the money back, we have no right to go and vote at their meeting.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? 'Cause
yeah.
we're not participating. Even if we tried to participate,
yeah.
we're not actively participating because we've fallen outside of there. So that's what it is. So the way it starts is you have a day and a half. I think on Sunday night it really kicks off, but I'm never there on Sunday night because I'm traveling Sunday. They have a pastors' conference for Sunday and Monday, and they preach kind of through a series of passages. Got some heavy hitter pastors up there just sharing their sermons on the assigned text there, worship preaching. It's a day of that nonstop. So that's how it starts, which is like a good kind of like spiritual beginning for the thing. You can also go and check in and you get your little messenger.
Is that just for pastors? Because
no,
anybody can go to that.
Anyone who's a messenger. And so our church, because of our giving and our attendance, we're allotted 12 messengers.
Which seems like a lot to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
As small as we are, relatively speaking. I mean, there's smaller churches than us, but we're in Rockdale.
Yeah.
And we're not a huge church.
We are not. No, I think that's fair. But we do participate on kind of an active level on our giving. And they have some, I don't know the formula and I don't know what the max number if we were a mega church giving.
Yeah, that's what I would like to know.
I don't know what the max number you can have. I'm sure there is a top end number you're allowed to seat. But regardless, we were allotted 12. We had 3 registered messengers, but only 2 attended because Seth bailed on me at the end because he was leaving for youth.
Who went with you?
Danielle.
Oh, okay.
So like he Seth was going to go, but he was leaving for youth camp the next day.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
And
done.
I told him, I don't think you should.
You got a
That couldn't
baby.
make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'll go. And then as it got right on the week of, he's like, I don't think I should go. I
Yeah.
was like, that's fine.
That's fine.
So you go, you register, you get your little ballot. If you're looking online, you can see this. Like, you'll see a lot of this. If you go watch a video, you see people holding these up in the air to vote. Most of the voting is this yellow ballot that you hold up. Inside of it, you have like paper ballots for private votes if they call for them.
one.
There was like 5 private votes throughout the thing. You get a book of reports, which is this beautiful thing here when you check in, and it has all of like the reporting from everyone that we support. So like the ERLC right here, there's their report, Southwestern Seminary, Southeastern, New Orleans Seminary, the North American Mission Board, the International Mission Board. You can read what they've been doing over the last year, how they've been utilizing their funds to accomplish their purposes.
So it was in Dallas this year.
It was
Is
in
it always in Dallas?
No, so it rotates. 3 years ago I went. It was in Indianapolis. Last year I didn't go. Or 3 years ago it was in New Orleans. Or I guess 2 years ago it was in New Orleans. Last year it was in Indianapolis. I did not go because it was in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
This year it was in Dallas. Next year it's in Orlando, and my wife is eager to go for reasons that I'm unsure of, to be honest with you. But she really wants to go to the convention next year, so we'll see.
Because it's Florida.
Because it's Disney, I promise.
Is Florida the Sunshine State?
That's what they say.
Okay.
That's what they say. So they rotate around. Typically, they try to stay near like the bulk of Southern Baptist, and then every like 6 or 7 years they'll give one like to California, or because Southern Baptist is still heavily located Bible Belt kind of region. Most of the churches are Bible Belty, and so they try to stay within reasonable travels to that while not neglecting it. But you have to have the infrastructure of the convention world has to be big.
Yeah.
So like if they did it in Birmingham one year, and it was a mess because Birmingham doesn't have enough hotels.
Yeah.
I think there was 11,000 people who were given ballots, and that means there was probably another 8 or so thousand who were there as support or guests or whatever.
At 11,000 people, we sent 2. We plan to send 3. It seems like most churches have minimal representation, probably.
Yes, yeah. So
I would imagine that if everybody filled all their seats, that'd be a ton of people.
Yeah, I don't. There's. They said how many churches Southern Baptist. I think there's like 30,000 Southern Baptist churches.
Yeah.
So let's assume everyone is given 2 messengers.
Yeah.
And it's probably more like 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's 150,000.
Yeah. Yep.
We know not every church is going to send a messenger.
Do you have people coming internationally from Canada, or do we do church planting in Mexico? Iglesia Bautista.
So our International Mission Board does church planting in Mexico, but those churches, when they get established, will join whatever the equivalent of that is in Mexico. So you can't. I don't know of any churches in Mexico. Canada might be different, but Mexico culturally is so different than the bulk of America that they have their own national level. So we have preaching for a day and a half, and then the business meeting starts on Tuesday. And Tuesday morning at I don't know. You get one of these when you walk in as well. It gives you kind of a rundown of everything there. So Tuesday at 8 o'clock it starts. There's worship, opening prayer, call to order, celebrate freedom.
What's the worship look like? A lot of contemporary, a lot of hymns.
Yeah, it's almost entirely contemporary, but it's not like Elevation or Bethel. Yeah. It's pretty down the middle, and it's good. I mean, you've got preachers sing by and large, and half that room easily is preachers.
Yeah,
and so it is a good place if you want to feel like the Spirit of the Lord.
I remember going to Promise Keepers as a kid, and it was in the Cowboys Stadium, and that was a pretty cool experience. It got pretty loud during the worship portion.
So they have worship even during the business meeting section. They'll have a little worship. It's kind of to open the session, and then have prayer, and then they'll go through. agency that we support will give
Mhm.
reports. So the Southwestern Seminary will give a report. The International Mission Board will give a report. So they all give reports about what they're doing. And there's a time generally for questions of the executive heads. It's about 5 minutes of questions that you're allowed to do. And so people will ask questions like, well, why are y'all doing this or not doing that? Yeah. So, and then you have business that takes place. And so there's always some business that needs to take place. Every year we have to approve how we're going to divide the money up. Make sure that each agency gets the right fractional percent of the money that comes up through the executive committee. And so that's approved. They had a new business transparency financial plan that was approved. I still don't think it's transparent enough. If you want to know my major issue with Southern Baptist Convention, it's like a general lack of transparency of the people that we pay. So like anyone who wants to know what I get paid at this church can go into my secretary's office and grab the church budget off the wall, and you can look. There's maybe a couple line items you want to see. One is like my salary, which is 98% of it, and then you can look also at like my mileage, which is what I get back for driving around.
Yeah,
doing
your
stuff.
expense reports.
Yeah, but yeah. So like it's a pretty simple thing. You can see what I get paid. You can see what Seth or Carolyn or Dot gets paid. It's all very public. We're not that public with our reporting. And,
Why do you think that is?
because I think some people probably make more money
Then they would like people to know.
than they'd like people to know. And honestly, like if you're running the International Mission Board, that's a $250 million a year charity you're running. There's not a lot of people who are qualified to competently run and execute that organization. And you probably need to pay good money to make that happen.
That's true.
And so I don't
You probably have a lot of people who think it's more simple than it is.
Correct. But for me, I think you give the salaries, and if you're worried about them, first of all, if you're worried that they're not in line with where they should be, then you should fix that, and you should put the salary in line with where it should be.
Yeah.
But if it's in line with where you think, if the trustees believe this is the right salary for this person, then give your rationale for that. We're paying this guy $400,000 a year total package. Here's why. When you compare him to United Way, the president of United Way makes $2.7 million or whatever it is. Right. And so, and I don't know, that's a lie. I don't know what the president of United Way makes. But I will tell you, if I want to know what the president of United Way makes, I can, because the IRS requires United Way to file a 990 form. And we don't have to file that because we're churches, and separation of church and state protects us from that. But it also gives us a reason to be less transparent. And I think we should be generally more transparent than the world. I'm not saying we have to file things to the IRS, but to ourselves. We should tell ourselves what we're paying ourselves. What am I paying for this executive director all in? Not what is his salary, but what's his salary, what's his housing allowance, what's his other like special monies that we're somehow filtering into his budget that goes directly to him. But regardless, so we reaffirm the business plan. It's probably better than it was, and then we approve the budget. And so this year's budget was, I don't know, we have like a sex abuse situation going on where we're paying lawyers to defend us from defamation lawsuits, where we've paid to, I guess, defame people in a public report.
Yeah, by paid to defame, you mean we paid somebody to make a report which named these people
and gave kind of a narrative of what their alleged offenses are. And those people are now generally unemployable in the church world, as I think they should be, but they didn't really appreciate us defaming them. So they're suing us, so we're defending ourselves, and apparently defending yourselves from lawsuits, especially
it's not cheap.
One guy's suing us for $100 million, so that's a big lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so we've spent I think $13 or $15 million already defending ourselves, which has depleted the resources of the executive committee. So they asked for a priority allocation, which was to take the first $3 million off the top to pay back some stuff that they need to pay. The end result of that is like our missionaries are going to receive roughly $2 million less money
Less.
than they would have received otherwise. So we approved that as well. So that's
Sounds
kind of
like
the
they
sort
need
of
to get Elon Musk in there to pull a Doge and trim some fat. Now, the question I would have is like, where do you, how do you decide who gets shorted when you need to move money around like that? And why does it end up being international missions and not? Is everything else so vital to
so
operation that it has to be that international missions is seen as the least? I don't know.
Southern Baptists view international missions to be the most vital part of what we do, but that's almost uniform. But because we view that way, they also receive the
most.
vast majority of the money. And so when we give a $3 million priority allocation, what we did basically said like, oh, we're going to bring in, I don't know, let's say we're going to bring in $250 million this year in general receipts. We're going to take the very first before we, like the percent's not going to change. You're still going to get 50%, the International Mission Board, but that first $3 million isn't in the percent allocation.
Yeah.
It's going over here to this pile to pay off lawyers.
You get 50%
Everyone's still getting
after tax.
correct.
And this is pre-tax deduction.
And everyone else is getting the same percent that they were getting after tax. So everyone's taking a haircut. It's just they're going to feel it more because they receive more, so they're not going to receive as much.
Gotcha.
So I don't love that. I don't know, like structurally I'm not a lawyer, but it kind of feels like if we've bankrupted the executive committee by bad choices, like our attorneys told us not to do this, and we said,
oh, we're going to do it anyway.
We're going to do it anyways. And the attorney said, you really shouldn't do this. And we said, no, we're going to do it anyways. And so when we did it, the attorneys fired us and said, we're not going to represent you anymore. Thank you for the last 25 years where we've been your lawyers. We've really enjoyed having you as a massive client, but we're not going to represent you in the inevitable lawsuits because you guys don't listen to us.
And it's bad whenever they give up, whenever they've had that type of tenure.
Yeah.
And they give it up.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's good money on retainer that they get every year. And they said, y'all are bad clients. You will not listen to us. You do not take our legal advice. We can't represent you because you won't let us represent you. And so they fired us. And so like we chose this as the convention, the executive committee. The executive committee was acting on the wishes of one of the Southern Baptist Convention meetings to do this. So it's not like it was just a wild hair idea.
Wow.
So they followed the will of the messengers, and now we're in this mess. But I kind of think if the executive committee is bankrupt, just like close it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, keep suing it. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then reform something.
Yeah.
Let's call it the executive council.
Take a page out of the corporate America book where you just dissolve an entity and.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I think you could fold it, and then we could the most important thing they do is they're a central clearinghouse for the money that comes in, and they divide the money up. That's the most vital thing that they do. I mean, it almost feels like a spreadsheet could do that.
Yeah.
That part of the job.
Yeah.
It may be one guy who manages it in an office somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the money comes to me, and then it all filters out on this spreadsheet to these. And it's only like I said, there's 8 or 9 people who are getting the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's not even that complicated to do. So I'm kind of in favor of just folding the whole thing. But regardless, we voted to continue down the path we're going. We're going to give the first $3 million of receipts to some lawyers, which nobody likes to do.
Especially new lawyers.
Yeah, well, they're now 3 or 4 years on with us.
Oh, okay.
They've been defending us since we were fired a couple years ago. So yeah, that's that part of it. Well, so that's kind of how it started. We approved some of those things. What else you got? There's specific things, but
yeah, I mean, like the one thing I saw coming out of this before you even came back was the vote on the ERLC. So you want to talk a little bit about that, about what the ERLC is, why somebody thought it was a good idea. Not just somebody, apparently a lot of somebodies, but
42% of the voters.
42% of people are the voters, right? So maybe not 42% of everybody, but 42% of the people that voted thought it would be a good idea to disband it. And this is also not the first time this vote has happened, and it did not pass, but it has passed in the past. Just that whole situation.
Yeah. So the
What's the
ERLC is the Ethics, Religious Liberty Council Commission.
Mhm.
Commission, Ethics, Religious Liberty Commission. It was founded a long time ago, and it's basically the Baptist public outreach idea. So with politics and things like that. So when there's an issue surrounding some of the core initiatives that affect Southern Baptist and political life, so abortion, homosexual marriage, anything that's an ethical question, so gambling or things like that,
Mm-hmm.
they speak to political forces. So they'll speak to congressmen or whatever to try to encourage them to do what Baptists traditionally do. How Baptists would like to see the world. We'd like to see a world where there is no abortion. We'd like to see a world where marriage was honored as holy and things like that. Like we would prefer to see those things. We got a vacuum out there. We'll see.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, that's why we don't do
Wait,
this on.
stop. Nah, mics aren't picking it up. We're good. Okay.
So ERLC does that sort of work, and generally they have a public presence, and they try to make things work. Of the 4 cents that ends up reaching from your full dollar of the 4 cents that reaches the executive committee, 8 cents, 4 cents stays in the state. It's really like 4.5 cents, so maybe 3.5 cents that go up. If you take that 3.5 cents, you divide it into 100% now, they get 1.5% of that 3.5 cents. So that's, I don't know, so like
0.75% of the money we give. 0.75 of the 8 cents.
just less than a penny.
Yeah.
0.75 of the 8.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is a pretty fractional amount. So it's not a huge expense. They have a small staff. The director now is a guy named Brent Leatherwood. Seems like a good guy. He's generally, but it's hard because every time he speaks, he's speaking on political issues.
Yeah.
And the political parties in America are not, despite what you may believe in your heart of hearts, are not good versus evil. And the Republican Party, which the vast majority of Southern Baptists will vote for and support in national elections, 75+% of Southern Baptists, I'm sure, are voting for the Republican Party in those areas. The Republican Party does not walk in lockstep with Southern Baptist or biblical ideals on all issues. They may be substantially better and are substantially better in a lot of areas than the Democratic Party, which is why the vast majority of Republicans or Southern Baptists will vote for Republicans. But there are definite places where the Bible speaks and where the Republican Party speaks, and you're like, I don't know if that's exactly how these things should go together. And so when you're speaking as a entity head, sometimes you'll say something and it will make people angry.
Yeah.
Because you're just speaking as a Baptist and not speaking as a partisan hack. And a lot of people, a whole lot of people would rather everyone who speaks as a Baptist speak as
a Republican.
A Republican Baptist, not as a Baptist.
I mean, that's my guess. I don't think it's a bad guess either.
And so his predecessor got in some legitimate hot water. And to be fair, I don't love everything that his predecessor was Russell Moore. You'll see him. He's like the director of Christianity Today now.
Yeah.
He was a professor at one of our seminaries before he became the head of the ERLC. And when Donald Trump first ran for presidency, he came out as a never Trumper Republican. And so he's like, Donald Trump is morally deficient. We should not have him as our president. I will never vote for him. We should never support someone of such poor character. This is Russell Moore.
Mm-hmm.
That did not play well with regular Southern Baptist man or woman.
And no one was surprised.
Yeah, it didn't play well.
Yeah.
And so he got eaten up, and he already had a target on him to some degree, but the target got real big. Eventually he left, broke a lot of things on his way out the door, kind of made a mess, still kind of making a mess. So Brent is the guy after him, and he's been much more down the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
but
it doesn't really do anybody any good to just have a new person in that position every year. So at some point, you're going to have somebody who does toe the line to an extent.
Yeah, so
otherwise you just have constant turnover.
So when he went on and got that job, I didn't know anything about him, but I was on Twitter one day and I saw one of my friends. He's my seminary professor who I admire, was great for me, and was really just a good dude. He came on. It was like an announcement that like he's been brought on as the chief of staff for Brent Leatherwood at the ERLC. And so I called him because I have his phone number, and I said, "Hey man, congratulations on the job, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, I'm excited about it." And I said, "Is Brent a good guy?" He said, "He's a great guy." And there's not a lot of people that I trust, like just implicitly, but this guy is one of them. And so I was like, at the end of Russell Moore's tenure, if this motion had come up to defund the ERLC, I'd have been like, yeah, we could probably give another $4 million to missions instead of to these guys. I think that might be worthwhile. Like this guy's he's just kind of taking people off and doesn't, what was the Roe versus Wade got overturned, right? And Russell Moore was no longer in that position. I don't think he was when it happened. Or maybe he was and he was going out. But when Roe got overturned, like that is 50 years of hard work of conservative evangelical Christians praying, petitioning, begging the Supreme Court to reconsider a bad ruling. It is one of the greatest victories in my lifetime that we've seen in culture war nonsense that we fight. He was absolutely silent on it. Like it should be the time when you're shouting from the rooftops, praise God, this thing is done. Like, yes, it goes back to the states, and each state's going to have their own rules, and some may have really terrible rules on how to navigate abortion. But praise God, we got rid of this ruling, which made this a right to kill your child. Like, that's a bad right. It should never be given to anybody. And it was a bad ruling, and we should celebrate that. He was totally silent. I thought, man, this guy's not. But he was so allergic to praising the things that we want that he really made a mess of us.
That's a bad look.
So Brent's not that guy, but he inherited that organization, and he's made some statements that make people upset. We signed on to a kind of a mass letter by pro-life organizations that Louisiana had a bill that had been passed and was waiting for signature by their governor that was going to criminalize abortion for the mother. So if a mom had an abortion, she'd be held liable for murder. And I think, like, logically, I'm okay with that. I really am. But if you've grown up in a world where everybody in your family for 5 generations has told you, just have an abortion, you don't understand. You should understand that there's a life inside of you that you're killing, and snuffing out that life is murder.
I get that take. I understand why you would want to criminalize it, because you want to reduce the chances of it happening as far as possible.
Correct.
But I also understand, my take on that would be that sometimes the punishment can come in different ways, and sometimes the punishment is inherent to the act. I don't think that a woman has an abortion and just never thinks about it again. right? Like
Yeah, I don't
that's a
know.
tough one.
I think it's
I don't know that throwing them in jail is that's tough.
yeah. So I think it's logically consistent to say that a mother who commissions someone to kill her baby is just as guilty as if I was to commission a hitman to kill my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like she, in the eyes of God,
Mm-hmm.
is guilty of the exact same crime that I would be guilty of if I commissioned someone to do that.
Yeah.
But everyone knows killing my wife would be wrong, and there's a whole lot of people in our culture that they've been blinded by the spirit of the age, and they have no idea of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an aspirational law, and honestly I like the law. I would just like it to be enforced in a way that like we ease into some sort of enforcement in that, because
Mm-hmm.
I would worry you've got some 14-year-old girl who got pregnant
Yep.
and her dad said, "You're not having a baby."
And society tells you your life is over.
Well, yeah, or your parents say, "We're not
Yeah.
having that baby."
Mm-hmm.
And she's 14. She has very little agency in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how to intelligently write the law to make it where there's proper discretion,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't trust judges to be just to
No.
properly do it. So I don't know what to do with it. But regardless, the ERLC signed on with March for Life and pretty much all of the major pro-life organizations saying, like, we don't love the way this bill works like that.
Yeah.
That made a lot of Southern Baptists mad who want logical consistency, which makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like,
Yeah. No.
I think it is logically inconsistent to say the baby is alive and made in the image of God, and also it's fine for a mom to kill the baby. Let's just punish the doctor. Like, that's logically inconsistent, but it's also we're in a world that's pretty messy, and so I understand why general pro-life organizations say let's try to ease into that or whatever. I don't know the answer to it, but we signed on to that with a bunch of other people. That got him in some hot water. He had a child who was at the school where you had the transgender shooter in Nashville
Mm-hmm.
that shot up the school there. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
his kids go to that school, and so he's on like the parent group of Covenant school people,
Yeah.
and he's like, as a group, they were like, we really don't want this manifesto to be released
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want it to be released. And some people that really wanted to see that because why are you hiding?
I'll admit that I would have liked to have seen it.
I think it's out now, but they wanted it out. But oftentimes those things
But I can
cause.
understand why, as a parent,
Yeah.
you wouldn't.
So that got him, in some hot water. But generally, like if you go back and you look at the last year of what they've done, they're celebrating every single win we have in abortion. They're talking about how they're involved in moving those things. Planned Parenthood is being defunded by the federal government as we speak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been active in that forever.
I'm so anti-abortion that if that's the only thing they focused on, I would feel it was worth funding them. Like that's a big enough fight.
Yeah, but some people feel like they're not anti enough
For a
because they don't
whole
want to
army.
criminalize the mother, and
Yeah.
that's sort of like
Yeah.
the lines that you'll run into inside the convention. And so they went up for a vote to see like should we defund them. Willie Rice from Florida made a motion. It got seconded. Any motion gets seconded. I could probably make a motion to defund the International Mission Board, and somebody would throw a second out in a
Somebody
room
will
of
second it,
11,000
yeah.
people. So regardless, the motion was made. They had a motion last year as well, and it got voted down. You have to have 50% vote 2 years in a row. Didn't pass last year. It didn't pass this year.
So it passed the year before last.
No, that's a
No?
different issue. That's the
Oh, okay.
women pastor issue. This has never passed.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It's never passed. It's been
All
voted
right.
down both times. But 58% voted to keep the agency, 42% voted to shutter the agency. And that's a huge.
Yeah.
So like the ERLC has some work to do. I sat with my friend at the convention, and he pulled out kind of an internal document. So Miles, if I'm leaking information I'm not supposed to, I'm sorry.
Nobody's gonna see it.
Yeah. So Miles doesn't watch this, but he has like it's like a decision tree on what issues they speak to. So like we speak to the issues that are specific to
Mm-hmm.
Southern Baptist issues that we've made resolutions about since the conservative resurgence. So they have like very specific metrics for what sort of stuff they engage in, and it's a good rubric. And if they hold that, if people will just open their eyes to see the work they're doing good work and they're doing Baptist work. So I'm in favor of what they do. I voted to keep them, and
Yeah.
I think that we're better off for having somebody speaking prophetically. And sometimes, like when you speak prophetically, you're going to make some people mad,
Yeah.
and that's sort of where they are. They're the only organization that we pay that sometimes has to say something to Southern Baptists, be like, "Hey guys, I know you want this, but this is actually what we believe.
Yeah.
This is who we are as
Yeah.
Baptists." And one of those areas, like separation of church and state, like we're Baptists, were formed through persecution,
Yeah.
and so we're very in favor of separation
Well,
of church and
because
state.
Christian nationalism is a I don't know. Maybe it's cooled off a little bit, but for Stephen Wolfe and his book and all that, for last couple of years, Christian nationalism has been a hot topic, and you've had a lot of proponents for it in popular Christianity.
Yeah, in conservative worlds like we are in Southern.
Yeah.
So regardless, but we believe in separation of church and state. We don't believe in using the state to, force religion, and we don't believe in allowing the state to manage free expression of religion. So we're free speech, our freedom of religion absolutists. We believe in freedom of religion. I believe that a Muslim has every right to build a mosque right here in Rockdale, but I also believe we have every responsibility to make it so that a mosque in Rockdale would shut down
Not popular.
because
Yeah.
we're winning the Muslims to Jesus Christ because
Yeah.
we have a better gospel, a better word.
Yep.
Right. And so that's sort of, but when you come out and you're speaking in favor of separation of church and state, some people would get upset with you there.
Yeah, it's a fun topic for me.
But yeah, so I think I'm glad the URLC remains in activity. It'll take 2 years to shut them down anyways. Hopefully they have a good year. They've already released some stuff on like the defunding of Planned Parenthood. Hopefully the critics will kind of look into what they're actually doing because I think they're doing good work. And as I said, there's not a lot. There's probably less than 5 people in this world that if they said, "Hey, this is what the issue is," that I take them at their word. I'm just very skeptical of
Yeah.
people. This guy, who's the chief of staff at the URLC, is one of those guys for me. And so if you trust me, just know I trust him. And maybe he'll prove me wrong, but he's never done me wrong. He's walked me through marital distress. He's walked me through seminary stuff. He's a wonderful man of God.
You can't fall into paralysis by analysis. Sometimes you just have to operate. All the time, you just have to operate off the best info you have.
So the URLC didn't get defunded. We had another motion about women in ministry. Southern Baptist Convention is univocal on thinking that the pastorate, my job, the pastor of the church, is for men. The Bible speaks towards that as well. I'm in agreement with that, but there's been a move the last 3 years to try to get some clarity about what a pastor is and what it's not, and that was at a request of the Credentials Committee. But there's a lot of churches that use the word pastor loosely. So like the youth guy is the youth pastor, the children's lady is the children's pastor, and it's not even necessarily whether or not they're pastoring, it's they're in leadership over a part of the organization. So we use the word pastor to just describe leader or director or minister. And so there's a lot of women in Baptist churches that are called pastors. I think it's bad terminology. I think it's bad when we use.
I think so too. I mean, it goes back. It's what area where I believe it's okay to police language. That's a different topic. But going back to what you said earlier, like the convention itself actually has we have autonomy. They have no actual power over the way we do things, so they can't police that even if they want to, right?
Yeah. So what the motion would do is to
All they
change.
can do is provide guidance.
Yeah. But if they change the Constitution, what it would do is it would make it where if you had a children's pastor who was a woman, even if she's never preaching on a Sunday, even if she's not sitting in on elder meetings or something like that, if she's basically what would be the children's director or minister at any other church across the country, and no one would have an issue with. But if you call her a children's pastor and you refuse to change her name, then your churches would not be in friendly cooperation, and you would be, we would send your money back to you, and then we would not allow you to see messengers at the meeting because you're not like us. and I don't necessarily feel like that's true. I think that they're probably still very much like us. I think what we need to be mindful of is that there's probably churches that are Southern Baptist, definitely, I think a handful at least, that have women that are not irregularly filling the pulpit and calling themselves pastor. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the line is. Like, who is the pastor of that church? Oh, you are you're one of the teaching pastors.
Yeah.
You're on stage giving the message. When people look up, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's our pastor. It's this guy and his wife, and those are our pastors."
Yeah.
Like, there's probably more than a handful of those in our convention.
Man,
those
I'm
are the
trying to
ones
think-
we've got to ferret out.
I'm trying to think of now, granted they weren't Baptist, but I'm trying to think of the church that I went to years ago, the big church up in Georgetown, if the wife is also called a pastor. I don't think she was, but they might have gotten there since I left.
Did she preach?
No, she's on stage talking, but I don't think she may have preached at women's conferences, which I'm actually okay with.
That's not preaching, but yeah, speaking at a women's conference.
Speaking at a women's conference, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're
then I'm
really
dividing-
getting to mincing words.
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah, but that's what we're doing.
yeah.
So, I'm absolutely committed to complementarianism, the idea that God has
Mhm.
divinely set up men and women to play different roles inside of the family and inside of the church. And I think that when we go against that, we're putting ourselves in a bad spot. But I don't think that I can't take the money from a church that happens to call all of their staff people pastor, that somehow they're so totally different than my church.
Mhm.
I think they would do better to use good biblical terminology.
Yeah.
And I would not lead my church to use
They
the
can be-
terminology they use.
They can be wrong.
But I don't necessarily think that means that they're not like me.
Yeah.
I just think that they're bad with how they use the word pastor.
Mhm.
I think what we've got to do is figure out where those handful, and it's probably not much more than a couple of handfuls of churches that are what I think are actually outside of friendly cooperation. They have a teaching pastor who's, a female. They've got, a joint pastor he, pastor she kind of thing going on. Those are the people that I think we can agree are not in friendly cooperation. But just because you poorly call your preschool director a preschool pastor, I think it's bad terminology. But I think it's bad terminology when you call your media guy a media pastor, or your executive pastor an executive pastor.
To me, it feels like you're just trying to give them a sense of honor, or.
Well, I think what you're doing is they started calling youth guys youth pastors,
Mm-hmm.
and then they looked at their children's worker, who was a children's minister or director, and they said, "Why are we not calling this person a pastor?
Yeah.
They're doing the same job."
Mhm.
And they are doing the same job. Neither one is doing a pastor's job. So maybe you should have just taken the pastor title off of the youth guy, but that would have hurt his feelings, I'm sure. And so now everyone gets to be a pastor, and the word is devalued. But words do change. Like the local usage of a word changes. And so the word pastor doesn't necessarily mean, sadly, it doesn't necessarily mean what it would have meant 100 years ago. But we do, because now we have it used to be that as the pastor.
Yeah.
Now it's, children's pastor, youth pastor, lead pastor, teaching pastor, senior pastor.
There was one pastor in a church.
Correct. And everyone else that's our music director.
Yeah.
That's our youth director, right? That was the way the terminology was.
Yeah.
And so we've moved away from that, and to our peril, we've reached this kind of
we used to
watered down.
I feel like we used to say minister, youth minister.
Yeah.
Which is that the same thing as pastor in your mind? Should they?
No.
Okay.
No. Pastor, elder, overseer. Those are the same term. So if you're pastor, elder, overseer, that's one term. In fact, the Baptist Faith Message was altered to say that, where we kind of did a weird slash thing. But most youth guys are not elder, overseer, pastors.
Okay. So you're good with youth minister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. And I'm good with calling a lady
Problem solved.
a children's minister or a ladies minister.
Yeah.
Or whatever minister. That doesn't bother me at all. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have something there?
No, I had a joke that I decided not to say.
Oh, good job. So that didn't pass this time. Yeah, it takes a supermajority because you're altering the Constitution. You have to have 66.666 whatever percent to pass that. It got 50 or it got over 50%, but less than 66%. And I understand it because, like, personally, that's how I practice church. I just don't know if the church down the road who uses terminology poorly is one that I think is so compromised that we couldn't do ministry together and share funds. Because ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to lose, either they're going to change their names or we're going to lose these churches. And then we're going to have to bring missionaries home because we cut off our nose to spite our face. Like, I don't know. I think we need to ferret out people who are not like us.
You need to do well. If you have a way of identifying these churches, then you also have a way of assessing their level of contribution. You can look at things first before you take a course of action.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would not be insignificant, though, because there's a lot of churches that have children.
Big churches.
Yeah, any church that has multi-staff.
The bigger the church gets, the more likely they are to have
a children's pastor.
Yeah.
And it's a woman because women are better with kids almost entirely.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but
I would, in some cases, like, thinking about it logically, it may even be the lead pastor who initiates this change to help him delegate, right? Like, when somebody wants to talk to the pastor, he said, "Oh, well, you can talk to the children's pastor."
Yeah, maybe.
That way you're happy. You're talking to a pastor, but I don't have to deal with you.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think it really is like navel gazing. Like, somehow the youth guy got the pastor title, and the executive pastor gets the pastor title, and the worship pastor gets the pastor title.
The kitchen pastor gets the pastor title.
Yeah, so why do all those people get it?
The janitorial pastor gets
and what's the difference between what this guy's doing and what this lady's doing? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah.
And then, I just think we did a bad job by allowing the word pastor to start being used in place of minister.
Yeah.
And now we're reaping that whirlwind, but I don't think that cutting off our nose and negatively affecting our cooperation is helpful in that situation, unless they're genuinely not. If they're looking for egalitarianism, if they're looking to have a woman on stage preaching, if they're looking to promote that, then I think we've got
a different matter.
That's a church that we need to be.
Yep.
Hey, you're not like us. I'm not saying you're not a Christian. I'm saying you're not like us. It's time for you to go.
Yeah.
So
I would say that it doesn't matter how much they give if you've got a church that's doing that.
But the most important thing that we did at the convention, Zach, as we're now an hour and 3 minutes into this, we've got to find a stop here.
Yeah, we do.
Because people are not that interested in the Southern Baptist Convention.
No.
The most important thing that we did was we commissioned, I think it was 58 missionaries to go overseas with the International Mission Board to go serve and let people know about Jesus. And it starts off, and they bring the missionary or the missionary couple out, and they'd say, hey, we're so-and-so, such and such. We're going here to do this. You can pray for us like this. And they give kind of a specific prayer prompt. And then the next one comes, and they're kind of constantly coming. And it's amazing just to see the number of people who are giving their lives up to go and to be on full-time mission for Jesus Christ across the world. And then you reach a point after about a third of those people come, after 15 or so have come through, where the director comes back out of the International Mission Board and says, hey, so now we're reaching the point of people who are going to close countries where they can't be there legally to be missionaries. And so these people come out, and they're, you got a sheep between us and them, and you got a light shining at them, and you see their silhouette, and they're like, hey, we're so-and-so, such and such. We're going to Southeast Asia to bring the gospel to the people in that place. And these people are putting their lives at risk to make Jesus Christ known in hostile places where their visas would be denied, or they could be arrested, or they could be killed.
In prison. Killed,
for doing the proselytizing of these nations. And I think these people are risking their lives for the sake of Jesus Christ and his kingdom. And that's just a powerful, powerful thing. And it's just one right after the other, another. And I think the guy said they've got 1,400 people in the pipeline.
Wow.
Who are pursuing international missions right now.
Wow.
And so that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're not unified in every area.
Yeah.
That's who we are.
Whenever we give money, knowing that some of it goes to the higher up convention, like that's really where you're hoping it gets used. Like
And
that's the best use case.
it is. And those people just, risking lives and fortunes to go and make it go. And,
Yeah.
years ago, international missionaries would pack their belongings in a casket to go overseas. Like how wild is that?
Yeah.
Like we get
That's a statement.
we're gonna get everything in the casket. We're gonna fly the casket over.
Yeah.
And they're gonna bury me there in this box.
Yeah.
Because I'm giving my life to Jesus Christ. Like it is like a burn the boat sort of thing. And so I just think it's a powerful image of who we are as Baptists. It's the best part of who we are as Baptists is that we cooperate together to put a massive missionary force out, bringing the gospel around the world. And we fight about, are these people saying the right things politically? Or, is there someone in some church that has a title that I don't really think is appropriate? And it's all this inside baseball nonsense. When the truth is, there is a lost and dying world. And we're engaging it fully. Now, I'm not saying those things don't matter. We don't want to doctrinally drift. We don't want to lose our way and become a good public service organization. Like so many Christian organizations lose the plot, and now they're feeding organizations or well-drilling organizations, and they're not evangelical. We don't want to lose the plot, but man, that's who we are. And so that's the kind of the highlight of it. You sit through that and you hear that and you think, these people are giving their all. That was at 10:08 on Tuesday morning. And that went for an hour.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's the highlights. We do resolutions as well. They make the news. Like we're against gay marriage. We resolved to be against gay marriage. We've been against it, so that's not new. We're against online sports gambling. It's pretty Baptist of us, and honestly, it's going to destroy people. We're against, abortion. So you'll see some resolutions that we're against. We're thankful for the city of Dallas for hosting us. So you've got
resolve to be thankful.
Yeah. So we got some of that, but that sometimes will make more news. They're not binding. No, they can't. They don't dictate what we do as churches.
It's like an executive order.
But it does kind of go. Well, executive orders are binding on the agencies, right?
Right. Not convinced of that, but never mind. Never mind. Bad analogy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's more like here's what the pulse of the people in the room on this day were as Southern Baptists, and it will inform some of the work. So, like the ERLC, we make a resolution against online gambling. They're going to do some work this year on sports betting and why it's not good for Christians to partake in, even on responsible sort of levels, because the responsibility often is lost.
Yeah.
And so, it informs some of the work that we'll do, but it's not they're not making me tell my churches, hey, you can't have a DraftKings or whatever, or putting us under discipline for it. So yeah, that's the Southern Baptist Convention.
Cool.
Good time. If you listen to an hour and 10 minutes on the Southern Baptist Convention by me, thank you for that. Yep.
Normally we would do, now that we're done with all that nonsense, we would normally do our nonsense of the week.
Yeah.
We don't have a video.
No video.
But you got a text from a church member.
Yeah. I've got a church member on vacation.
Yeah.
Overseas.
I didn't know they were there. That's cool.
He's in Ireland with his wife doing, I don't know, anniversary or something. Congratulations to them.
Ireland stuff.
Yeah, and so he sent me a text last night, and he said that they had some time before dinner, and there was a cathedral down the road that they were going to go just kind of check out, look at the church architecture. It's kind of cool to see.
I would if I went to Europe, that's what I would spend a lot of time doing.
Yeah, and so they were going, and they get to it. It was about a mile away. It was like a line to get in. And he thought, that's kind of a lot of line to go tour this cathedral. Mm-hmm. And so he went up and asked them what was going on, and apparently there was like an art exhibit and based on my very brief Googling on it, looks like it's the Helios art exhibit. And what it is, it's an impressive thing. It's like a
The Googling I said it's a Midsummer's festival.
Midsummer's Festival. Okay. But the
Which
Helios
gives,
art
like,
exhibit
the
is yeah.
Midsummer's Night Eve Shakespeare pagan vibes.
Yeah. And so what it is it's a massive art installation of the sun, like our sun in the middle of our solar system. And so the sun, I don't know, it looks big. It looks like it's probably like 15 foot in diameter, big 15-foot sphere. And on that, I guess LED screens or something is like the sun. The sun has hot spots and cold spots and everything. And so you see like the sun up close and personal. It's not just some big bright light because it's it's not putting off heat, and you can kind of look right at it and see all the swirls and everything on the sun. Like, if you ever seen like space like cameras, man, it's real impressive. The sun's God did a really cool thing by making that big ball of burning hydrogen or whatever it is in the middle of our solar system. Like, that's awesome. So you get to kind of see that up close, and it's a neat thing. But they were also doing that day when our friends were there, like a pagan, like sun worship festival at the church where this art installation is.
I'm gonna look at the name of the. I had it here. St. Finbarr's Cathedral.
Yeah, and so
in
Cork, Ireland, and so they were, just basically after the worship of the true God, which Adam and Eve participated in. Worship of the sun would be very early in our quest to find something to worship that isn't God.
Yeah.
Big burning ball brings us heat, brings us life. What a wonderful thing. And we worship the creation instead of the creator. And then have a church that was dedicated to the glory of God, the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, built to honor God. The building itself is a monument to Jesus and to the triune God. And then to bring in this object
right in the middle
of the sanctuary, you have where the whole concept would be like God's presence is in this place. You have this big art installation to the sun, and you have people worshiping the sun, and the church is participating in this, probably being paid some amount of money to host the art exhibit or something, but like they're participating and allowing people to worship the creation instead of the creator. And our friend was like, asked for prayer because he said today he may have already, or tomorrow he's going to have to go back down there because he just can't not say something to the pastor, the leader of the church, and say, what are you doing that you're encouraging people?
It definitely gives, like, to me, it reminds me of, like, Jesus giving prophecy, like when you see the abomination at the center of the temple, as like you've just taken the center stage and given it to worship of something else.
Yeah, it's a pretty terrible thing, and so I've been praying for him. Pray that he'll have the right spirit about him as he goes to confront someone who's shirking their responsibilities as someone who ostensibly would be a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But has lost the plot somewhere along the way.
Yeah, and you would think that given the resources of I don't know how old that cathedral is, but it's probably very old. Looked very impressive.
Probably older than
Gothic.
Our church.
They said it was Gothic, so I don't know. Early.
So it wears black, and it's not
like 13th century, something like that. I don't know.
Don't get me lying.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, but more impressive than FBC Rockdale. Like you're given. Oh, I mean, it's probably more impressive than anything in Texas. Like, if you're looking at it from a historical standpoint, is what I'm saying. You've been given stewardship of.
I'd take any Sunday here over any Sunday in that church right now, I think.
Right now, yeah. I think, yeah.
I'd take our hour on the Southern Baptist Convention over whatever's happening there right now.
Yeah, right. I just mean the facilities, what's been passed down.
Yeah, they're stewards of.
You're stewards of something that
was built at great sacrifice.
Yeah.
And ultimately to honor the Lord, and now it's being used to honor the creation instead of the creator.
Yep.
So what a terrible thing that is. And what a good on my church member, right, to be rightly offended by that.
Yeah.
He's like, we did not go in, obviously. But I just can't imagine what that would be like. So, yeah, be mindful of that. It's a question for you, Zach. Here, what do you think about like if you were traveling Thailand
Uh-huh.
and like half of the tourist spots in Thailand are basically going to be like Buddhist
No,
temples?
it was only completed in 1879. I was way off.
Oh well, we're that old.
Never mind.
Burn it down.
Burn her down, Brian.
Burn the church down. Please don't. But what do you think? Like if I'm tourist over in Tokyo or
Yeah.
Japan, and there's a bunch of temples or whatever. That's part of the like in Europe you go tour these Christian places. Over there you'll tour these Eastern places, but ostensibly these are like houses built to idols.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them actually have idols present in them, like
Mm-hmm.
literally physical idols, like Buddhist temples will. Is it appropriate for Christians to partake in the tourism industry of those sort of places?
Partake in the tourism industry?
Yeah, because it's
sure.
basically tours of the place. So it's
Yeah.
appropriate for in your mind, it's appropriate for Christians to go tour
I don't think it's.
shrines built to idols,
I don't see any
where
particular.
worship of those idols is still taking place.
Wait, tour. Okay, so you're talking about touring churches.
I'm talking, temples, but yeah, like these are like
Wait,
Buddhist temples.
so Buddhist temple.
Buddhist temples.
Oh, I'd go
Or-
see them. I'd go see them. I mean, if you want my
I
ultimately,
do want your opinion. That's why I'm
ultimately, I
asking.
believe they were inspired by like created beings. You know, they were. I don't know, I'm trying to. I think they're demonic. Basically, if you had to boil it down to like one word.
I agree.
But
So do we? Is there not an obligation for us to avoid things that are devoted to idols?
did Paul avoid the Areopagus?
He did not, but he did use it as a point of evangelism. Purposefully.
And I would like to see these places so that I have knowledge of them that I can then use to argue with the people that you use that prop them up. Because it, like, I don't know. I would like to be more knowledgeable about those things so that when it comes to arguing the case for Christ over other deities, I'm not going to go there and worship them.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. That's something recently I've been thinking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, I may be just outright opposed.
Maybe just don't go.
I may be outright opposed, even though that's like cool architecture and like it'd be cool stuff to see. It's that or jungles, right? What you're going to see out there. So
Yeah.
that's the cool stuff that was built a long time ago.
I think that they were built to the air quote deities, you know, the entities that ruled those areas, just like the Philistines or Babylonians made stuff to Moloch or Ashtoreth or whatever. Like those were their again small g gods. Like,
Gideon was told to tear all those down, though.
cool. Yeah, I mean, if I could tear them down, yeah, cool. But I can't tear
That's a
them.
good way to get arrested, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that. All right. Anything else?
No.
Oh, you tried.
Man. Nope, I got nothing. We gotta get back on the ball. Figure out we're gonna have to do another one of these in like 3 days.
Yeah. Probably not on the Southern Baptist Convention.
No,
Won't be that much inside baseball.
I don't even know if we should do the Southern Baptist Convention again next year. We should let it
Not
put it
the
on
same.
put it on ice for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a good. I don't know anything about the Southern Baptist Convention. You know, apart from what I've learned from you on it. It's just like one of those things you can go through your day-to-day life as a Baptist, and you don't really have to care about it
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
as long as you're cool with 8 cents going there. But I think people should know, like, I think most of our listeners are Baptists or people in our
I
church.
would hope. Yeah. Hopefully
Um,
we're reaching our church.
So it's good. I think it's good for us to know at least.
Well, let me close this with a word of prayer. Lord, I'm grateful for the work that you're doing around the world through missionaries that we support. Pray that your gospel will continue to go out. I do lift up those churches that are being misused right now. Lord, that they might repent, leaders would repent, and go back to the worship of the true God. Help us to be mindful of that in our lives, that we wouldn't worship the creation instead of the Creator. You are worthy of all worship, Lord, and we love you. Amen.
Amen.
Peace.